Hello again, I'm Larry Hamilton. Welcome to my YouTube painting channel. Thank you for watching. Today we're going to do a oil painting, and it's another interesting scene, one I haven't done before. It's a scene of New York City Central Park in the winter in twilight. So we're going to have an urban scene, which we haven't done before, and it's going to be a snow scene. It's going to be sort of light, early evening, I guess, and we'll see if we can do this painting justice. I have my photograph and my value map done, and I have my sketch on the canvas, which I'll zoom in on and see if I can get this aligned properly here so you can see it, and I think that's pretty close. All right, the paints we're using, I'll go over those. They're the same paints we always use. It's the Bob Ross paint set: titanium white, phthalo blue, Prussian blue, midnight black, Van Dyke brown, dark sienna, alizarin crimson, sap green, cadmium yellow, yellow ochre, Indian yellow, and bright red. And I add another color from Grumbacher called ultramarine violet. The brushes we're using is the standard set that students in my classes have. The 1-inch landscape brush. I have a number 3 fan brush from Bob Ross. I have the number 6 painting knife, number 5 painting knife, I'm sorry, and I have the number 2 script liner. I also add 3 other brushes that I bought from Dick Blick that are bristle brushes. One's called a number 12 Bright, one is a number 10 Filbert, and I also add a brush that has very sharp edges. It's actually a watercolor brush. It's a 1/2 inch golden Taklon flat wash brush. So I use that to get some of the sharp edges that I need in some areas, particularly when I'm doing architectural elements or buildings, sometimes with mountains, sometimes with rocks. But pretty much that's it. Okay, so we're ready to go. I have the sketch. We're painting on gray gesso toned 11 by 14 inch canvas, and as I said, I've done a value map and a sketch for it, and the sketch is on there. It's really hard for you to see, I'm sure, but we do that in white charcoal pencil so it shows up over the gray gesso. And this has some very interesting characteristics. Has a lot of mood in this painting. It's a scene of the New York skyline in the background, and it has a bridge here that is going to have some snow on it with some reflections in water underneath. So it ought to be a beautiful scene, and hope we can do it justice. So I'm going to start with my this bright brush, this number 12 Bright, and I'm going to start in the background, picking up a little bit of this light color. It's a reflected color that's reflection from the sky, or a reflection from the street lights of downtown. And just sort of up in here, we'll start putting in some light. I'm making this with a bit of alizarin crimson, a little bit of dark sienna, touch of Indian yellow with some liquid white to get it to move around and to lighten it up. So I'm getting this sort of a reddish brown color. It's got some light in it. Probably could have a little more red in it, maybe. That alizarin crimson is a very strong color. It sort of eats things up. I'm not putting liquid white on the canvas as I have done previously, just covering the canvas. I'm actually putting it here where I want the paint to flow right now, getting sort of outlining my buildings in the distance. Got a big skyscraper here. Go back, get some more paint. This liquid white does a good job of helping thin the paint down and getting it to run. That's kind of why I like it. Particularly, you can cover large areas of the canvas fairly quickly. And I'm just sort of toning toning this canvas right now. I'm going to come back and go over it again, but it's just to lay in some basic color here. A little more white. Building back here. These buildings are in a lot of, they're very, very light and hard to make out in some cases, but they show that they're being lit up by the ground lights, the city lights. So we'll get a little of that on here. See how we're looking. I think I want to get a little more of this alizarin in there, maybe just a touch of blue to sort of, I'm going to use this violet, sort of start getting a change of color as we come across the canvas over here. So we're going to be a little bit darker. I'm going to pick up some that violet color on the left over here. I'm going to have trees that cover this. It's going to be a little abstract in the background. I'm going to have these buildings so you can kind of see them, but they're not going to stand out all that much because we want this to be have a lot of mood, a lot of interesting background, but not specific descriptive background. There are trees back here, but I'm going to, trees are in the foreground in this case because they're in the park. We're standing in part of Central Park. It's a very highly photographed area. You can, you look for pictures of New York City, you'll very likely see pictures like this of areas of the Central Park. I'm just mixing up some colors here, trying to get a interesting set of background. So I'm not putting this paint on really thick right now. It's just sort of a light coat to get some color in there. And see how that's looking. And I want it to sort of fade to sort of a purplish color over here on the left. Between these trees and in this area. Along the side of this building, it's got more shadow over here because the lights are really coming. The lights are coming from this area here. This is the area of the city that's the brightest. And so areas behind this building over here have more shadow. There are other buildings in here, but I'm not going to paint them in. I'm going to abstract them out. Might put a few marks in there that look like some buildings that have some lights in them peeking through, but generally I'm going to let this be the sky for now. Putting a little more paint on, putting a little more color in it. Just mixing these colors together, this alizarin and dark sienna, some white in it to lighten it up, put a little bit of Indian yellow in there to get a little more of an orange color in some of these cases, some areas. It gets more yellow, brighter yellow as you get closer to the ground down here. Some of these areas almost have the look of cad yellow almost, which is really a bright color. And I don't necessarily want to make it all cad yellow, but it does really brighten it up. Brighten up the face of some of these buildings down here. All this down here is going to be bright. There's some buildings in there that are this building. Okay, stop, take a step back, take a little look. Okay, this building over on the right-hand side, it's has a lot of shadow in it. So we're going to start putting in top of this building here. Using some of my violet. And it picks up some brown color as well as it moves down. Still using this number 10 bright brush. Pick up a little bit of liquid white to give me a little more flow in this paint. It comes down, there's a I'm getting a mixture of colors, getting some lighter colors, getting this violet in here. There's a lot of trees that cover this in the foreground, but I may come back with my other brush and get that to make that edge sharper on this building. I want those edges fairly sharp because they do outline the building, and they need to be relatively sharp, as any architectural item would be. I think that's as far down as this building comes. All right, let's leave that for now. Let's pick up a little more alizarin maybe in this color and start on another building here, making myself a reddish brown color with some dark sienna alizarin, a little bit of this violet in it, slightly darker than what's behind it. Right in here we have another building that sort of sits this way, and excuse me. Right. This building in the back has a lot lighter, has some similar similar colors and similar, but it's definitely further away. I think I'm going to have to change brushes and get my little flat out. This is these bristle brushes do not give you a lot of sharp edges. It's one of the disadvantages of bristle brushes. So I'm going to put that brush in my thinner and let it be soaking to clean out. Picking up this flat wash brush, 1/2 inch flat wash. I'm going to come back in here now and start trying to put in the top of this building right here. And we have a other side that angles down to the right, which has, it sort of goes from this purple color to a yellow color really, and sort of blends in with the reflections down there. So this side of the building actually is slightly darker than the side that's getting more light down there. And as it comes down, it starts turning more and more yellow, orange color. It's picking up more and more reflection off of these city lights. Okay. Looks like that might be a building there. Usually we paint mountains and trees and streams, and so giving ourselves a little challenge here to try to see if we can change up the kind of things we paint once in a while. I know a lot of people like the mountain scenes and the streams, but every once in a while you need to try something else here. There's this little chimney, a little roof that sticks here like this. Not exactly sure what this building is, but it has some character. It's been around for a while. It's older than some of the buildings around it, and start getting some different flavors of orange, reddish orange down here under the eaves, under here. And it sort of comes like this, and then there's a darker area that goes out of the light because it is as well, and some shadow here. So it's taking these red and orange colors, mixing them, making the front of this building have some reflective light because there's so much light on the ground around it. Need more paint. One thing I've been trying to do is to start using more paint. So this building comes down and sort of, it goes all the way down to the ground here. Darker shadows under darker here. Where's my darker browns? We have sort of a pick up this other color here, make it a little darker. Okay, let me step back and see if I'm getting the look of a building there that's in front of the skyscraper behind it. Looks like it. This skyscraper needs to be cleaned up a little bit. Right here, I'm going to come back and put in some of this. I don't want it to be the same value if I can help it. It needs to stand out and be distinct from what's in front of it. But right now, those two values are almost identical. And so one's got to be darker than the other. So I'm going to pick up just a little midnight black and start darkening the one behind slightly. Right in here a little bit. So you can see that there's definitely a break there. One building in front of another. And then this is going to have some of this reddish brown color going down this way and here. So I'm just kind of make it really working more from the what's on the canvas than what's in the photograph. The photograph sort of gives us an idea, and if we can use that and use what's happening on the canvas to make it look representative, that's what I'm trying to do here. This building goes all the way down to the, actually, you can see parts of it here. I'm gonna have to pick up a little more of this to get some paint flowing here. It's not covering enough, so I'm going to start pulling it down here. This goes all the way down. It actually goes down to the snowbank down here at the bottom. You can see it's in the distance. There's going to be trees and stuff in front of it, but it is there. So we'll put in this tree back, this building back here. And there's a snowbank and a bridge right here. The other building actually overlaps it some, so I'm going to leave room for it. And so I'm painting this back building here. This is all this tall skyscraper that's behind this other building. And this building has now my reds and oranges and browns in it. See if I can make it distinguishable. Need to have a little more color in there. So this building is actually showing in front of the one behind it. And it goes down quite a ways. It goes down all the way down to this top of this bridge as well. I'm going to just pull this up. These are lights from the ground that are reflecting up. If it's too much, I can always darken it down a little bit, but right now we'll leave it for that and see how that looks. This is there's some snow on top of this bridge. I want to leave room for snow, and then this back side, we've got the reflection or the shadow side back here. Needs to be darker, so that it definitely looks like it's out of the light. It's got to be darker than the one behind it, so that's what this is over here. don't know if this is an accurate depiction of these buildings or not. I'm not trying to be an architect. I'm trying to give you the impression of a building that's back here. That I'm going to actually make this building a little bit wider, I think. It goes down more, something like this, and then comes down. There we go. That's probably about a better width for this building, maybe a depth. A lot of objects in this painting to paint. Okay, so we'll make sure we have that outlined well enough. I'm going to put some trees over that, and but right now it definitely looks like there's a building in front of one behind it. It looks a little crooked to me now that I step back and look at it. One of the problems I have trying to stand to the side and paint is I have trouble making horizontal lines for you. So sometimes my horizontal lines dip to the right because I'm not standing directly in front of this painting. So I have to try to compensate for that. And that's why I have to get back away from it and look. Okay. All right, stop on that for now. Building in the back. Buildings over here have a lot of light color in them. Clean out my brush. This sky, I think I'm going to come back and work on that sky a little more that's beside this building in here. I want to get that while I'm working on that building. If I can get that color back. Needs more white in it. A little more yellow. So right in here I've got sky that I want to show again. Here, same thing on top of this building. Don't want it to look exactly like that, but I want it to make sure that you see the outline of that building back there. And over here, we do start seeing another building somewhere. I think I'm going to leave that building out. The power to change the skyline of New York City here. And we can just leave it sort of soft and not very strong edges back there. The edges of these buildings need to be fairly distinct. As they get further away, they get less distinct there, a little more blurry, a little more blended in with the sky back there. Okay, that'll do for that one. All right, now we have this building here. Start picking up some of my violet. I'm using a lot of violet today because this is the color that seems to show through as the shadows. You're still using this flat wash brush with a sharp edge. Right here, have another building that's got some, it's kind of dark on the front. Maybe not quite that dark, but we'll see what happens here. Let's paint it in. Change the color, vary the color. You hear me talking a lot about varying the color. Make these things change. Try not to keep one color in a big area. I'll go back over here. That's very close to the same. There is a building that sits in front of this building back here. Should you be surprised? Got buildings stacked on top of buildings, and to try to make them stand out, you have to make them different values, of course. So I'm going to see if I can get another little, there's a building that sort of has a top on it like this, and it sort of comes out like this. It's sort of a triangular shaped building. Comes out a little further as it's in front of the one behind it. Have these little terraces, like sort of do this. So, and I want it to be just a little darker than the one behind it, so I'm making it look like that. This side, the other side of this is going to be really highlighted with some yellow, bright yellow. All right, that building back there, go back and pick up some more of this violet. This building back here sort of has a appendage of some sort that sticks out like this. Distinguish it from the one in front of it. Just making little rectangular blocks. I'm going to make this come all the way over here like this. Okay. How are we doing on time? This may be a long painting. We're doing only 34 minutes and we're not half finished yet, so alright, let's see, this building now, I'm going to go back and get some of my browns, carry it down, put some more red in that brown. I use either alizarin or cad red. So this thing goes all the way down pretty much to the top of the building, top of the bridge. So I got to get that moving down further. There's trees and things over this as well. Darken it down just a little. Top of the bridge is right about here. Leave room for snow. Got some shadows and more nondescript stuff going on back here. I want to make these things too distinct, or you'll be looking in the background all the time, but I want you to get the sense of buildings back here, and painting has a lot of mood in it. Moody painting. Tree, I'll paint around a branch or two there. Top of this bridge. Bring this down all the way to the top of this bridge here. All right. Okay. We're making some progress. This side over here, this part of the building is much lighter, has a lot of orange and yellow in it. Start working with my, whoa, I'm losing my titanium white over there. I paint on use a vertical palette, which is highly unusual. And I do it so you can see what I'm doing, but it also allows for the paint to run just a little bit. So if they run, I hope I catch them in time. This part of the building has, it's yellower at the bottom, more yellow at the bottom. I'm going to sort of put in this at the bottom here. And it sort of steps in. It's narrower as it goes up, adds a little more tone to it. A little bit more of the violet. I actually drew that wrong, I believe. These have to come out further. They sort of get wider here. They come down more like this. Get wider like that. Get narrower as they go up. I may have to come back and put some more of that brown in there to make this a little redder at the top, maybe. Yeah, something like this. All right, a little bit tedious. They do stick out over. Sharp edges. It's a interesting triangular building there. So it goes to a top up there. All right, what's that look like on camera? Certainly got the colors that I want. I've got a couple of buildings in there that I have to put some more that darker color in. But I'm going to go back and see if I can fix up now this here where it should be a little wider. Right here, and then as it comes down, it comes in a little more. Something like this. There we go. Start getting that look of a pyramid shape, if you will. As it comes down here. All right, then this other color starts taking over the bottom here. With some more bright yellows coming in some spots. And I want this to give me a little bit of a plane change accent here. This, where the building goes out of the light, you want that to be a little darker right there at that corner. Okay, that's starting to look better. These are actually tiers, are stacked on top of each other. That helps maybe tell the story a little bit there. All right. A lot of work here, a lot of work. More than normal. All right, so I'm trying to now fit in between here. I've got another building that sort of has a shadow. So it just kind of gets lost in the fog here. So I'm picking up some of this violet with this, some thinner in it, and try to paint around this building. So I have this interesting contrast of colors going back and forth. I have the yellows and oranges with the purples in between. Those are nice complementary colors. Then they contrast, and they're usually pleasing to look at. So this is a building that's a little bit in shadow. It has a light edge on it as well. So I'm just going to make that the edge of the building that sort of stands out there and is in slight, again, slight fogginess. Okay. Down here we're going to start putting in some more color and some bright lights here that are just coming out from everywhere back there. All that's going on, that's the city lights. Okay. Oh, we're hitting lights. See lights along here on the bottom. It lights up. This cad yellow will just sort of override anything when you start putting it on. Okay. That's looking a little bit like I want it. I see one spot I missed. I have a little, this little spot right here is a reflecting area that's reflecting the light, but it's also an angle to the building beside it. So if I can get my brush thin enough here, pop in a side light there. See if I can tie it into this building here so that it tells you it's with this building and not with the one below it. Okay. All right. So we're going to put some lights in those buildings and some other things here before long, but let's just see an area here that I maybe can sort of restate. Like right here, this building has another little pop out on it like this. I want to show, and so that's pretty good. I think I'm going to leave it like that. Probably needs to be a little darker in there in some of those areas in here. because it really is out of the light some. It's not as far out of the light as the side of that building, but it is darker. Okay. So, getting back. Looks like there's some nice light coming. This light that's hitting in front of this building here looks like it starts here and goes up, but it doesn't come down. So I need to make sure the light reflection is hitting here as well off of this building, and that sort of helps complete that story. So it doesn't look like it's such an abrupt change. I sort of have a graded wash there. Okay, we got lights. We got more lights over here that are sort of fuzzing up the bottom of this building, so you don't know exactly where it is. Get some snow on that. Tree trunks. Okay, building on the next big building, really the last building in this set of buildings, is going to be, it's going to start having some color in it because it's getting hit here as well. I'm going to put in a little bit of thin down liquid white, so I got something to paint over. It's got a little bit of yellow in it. It comes down here like this. Start picking up some painting around this tree. I just don't want to lose where that tree is. I know it's there, I just have to, okay, start merging this in down here, picking up some more of this color to lighten it up just a little. See, the contrast will make this other building stand out back there if I get it light enough. Yeah. So again, this is picking up colors from the ground, and it needs to get a little more purplish at the top because it's getting further away from the ground, so it needs to get cooler. So let's put a little of this purple in there and see if we can pull it down at the top. Okay. Got a lot of light in this painting, a lot of it. Looks like it's just sort of exploding from this focal point area over here. All right, now let's start on the other side. I'm losing my yellow ochre here. Wants to slide all over the place. I'll see if I can stop him from sliding down my glass palette here. All right, now we're gonna start hitting this side of this building. Using this flat wash brush that has a nice sharp edge. Pick up a little bit of my thinner here so I get it to run just a little better. A bit too much liquid white on there. always go over that. More, max a little black in there maybe. I'll darken it down just a little more. Violet and black. So I want to make sure I have a good distinct edge here. This could be a little brighter back here, although probably not exactly right. I think I'll pick up a little bit of that white I got in there too much. Keep that edge sharp. Trying to paint to the side like this is interesting to say the least. We're going to have some color here coming up from the light. In this area here, it's going to sort of merge a little bit. You'll see this light coming back on the building here. Lighten it up a little bit with some of that yellow. This has to come down. I got to get this line straight here. There. All right, now step back, take a look. Have I got some nice looking buildings? I just noticed something again when I step back. This building on the right, this little building here, looks like it's tilted almost. So I'm going to bring this roof out more like this and clean my brush, come back and see if I can fix up this vertical to make it look like it's less tilted. There we go. I think that might do it. Might be driving some of you crazy that I let that go so long and didn't fix it, but when I don't stand right in front of the canvas, it's hard to see until I get back. These angles, these are appropriate. Some of these angles for tall skyscrapers are appropriate. There's a thing called vertical perspective that you need to know about when you're trying to build tall buildings. And you make them go to an imaginary vanishing point in the sky, and it's called, I think it's vertical perspective, something like that. But anyway, it just says don't make those things exactly perpendicular. Make them slightly angular so they're pointing to a place way up in the sky. It's sort of that bird's eye view. Sometimes you take a photograph and you'll see the buildings will actually look like they have an angle to them. That's what that is. Okay, I got some trees and things I'm going to put over this, so I'm not going to get too specific with this part of the building. I do want to bring up a little more of this yellow in here and sort of lighten this up to make it look like we're getting some sort of secondary reflections from the ground here. This is top of the bridge here. It is lighter. There's a lot of light I see coming through and down here. Reddish. Just sort of, it's probably too light, but I will darken it down if I need to. All the way across here I see this sort of a light band. It's just making all these buildings and things sort of pop back here. All right. I have skyscrapers. First time I've really tried that. All right, Now, over here, this area behind this tree, I'm going to just sort of leave it fairly abstract and nondescript. I'm going to go back and get my bright brush and pick up some of my blacks and purples here and just sort of fill some of this in with. There are some other buildings back here, but they're really hard to see, and they're just sort of there, but I don't want to spend a lot of time showing them to you. I don't want you to even look back there. I'm going to put trees over a lot of this, so it's going to just sort of blend into these colors I got on the canvas. Run into this edge of the building here. I need to sharpen that up with my sharper brush so I don't end up with there might be some other buildings back here. I don't even know what's back there. Don't really care. Maybe a purist who loves to paint New York City would care, but this is not the focal point, and I certainly don't want to have people spend a lot of time looking over here. So I'm going to just sort of fill in between these tree branches, leave enough drawing on there so I know where they are, and make it nice and abstract. So we're getting all kind of interesting stuff over here. This building here needs to have a little bit of a sharper edge to stand out. Just touch it again, make sure I got paint on the canvas. So you see the colors, the brightness sort of radiating from this sort of focal point area over here where it's the brightest. That's the idea. It should get darker and grayer or more violet as you move left over here. Okay. Spent a lot of time on these buildings, but I'm going to get out of this business here very shortly. Put in some dark things. There are some trees and things back here that start taking up some of this space. This below this line here is really snow down here. All the front foreground is snow. All right, let's just make sure I have a line of demarcation there so you can see the distance, or see the difference between the edge of one building and the start of another. It's probably hard for you to see that. I'm exaggerating it. It doesn't have to be that dark. But so you can see it on the camera, I think it's important that you know that there's a line between these buildings. Okay, all this down here just sort of fades together. There's shrubs and bushes and trees and things back here. All right. Now, how are we doing on time? We've gone an hour. Wow. Okay, well, I think that's what I'm trying to get across. See one area on the right here that looks like it needs to be just a little more defined right there. Okay, I think we're pretty close. All right, over here some more darks maybe. These trees start sort of taking on a bit of a lavender look about them in some cases. There's trees, branches sticking up over here in the sort of in the distance. Just mix this up and get some colors that look like trees. Now I'm getting very abstract tree painting back here. I don't know. There's not a whole lot of green in this. I don't even think I want much green, but there's some yellow highlights on some things. And just leave that green alone. I don't even think I'll use sap green in this painting when I do it in our class. I don't think I mentioned this is for our December 17th oil painting class. And I'm going to give those who want to paint with me on that day are going to get a bit of a challenge, I think. But this is the last class for the year, so we'll just kind of go out with a bang and see how we do. All right, now let's start looking at some of these trees. I think I want to start getting in some of my browns and my Van Dyke brown and my dark sienna here. I want to put some of this in before I forget where they're going. I've got trees that have a number of big branches. They stick up and they I'm going to go back to my flat. I don't like the edges I get with that bristle brush. So let's see what we can do with this guy here. Just sort of things going right off the canvas up there. A lot of dark on the left side of this tree. Okay, there's one. I'm going to stick another little tree right in here, sort of run it off the canvas. A couple there. There's another little tree that sort of comes up here. There's a bunch of trees. I just noticed that there's a lot of little things back here going on. I'm just using this flat wash brush and just sort of pulling up, and as I pull up I'm getting some interesting tree-like shapes that are coming out of this brush almost by accident. Didn't plan this all that well, but that's what I'm getting, so let's take it. Put a little purplish red on there and see if we can put in a few. Just push in some things that look like some small short trees that are off in the distance. And through here we got some that are sticking out as well. Maybe a little more lavender over here. I'm just letting it pull off whatever will come off the brush here, folks. Nothing too specific, just nice little things that look like tree trunks back there. There is a bigger tree that sort of kind of hangs up in here. I'll just kind of throw him in there. A bit lighter. Something like that. Got little other trees. There's some other that look like trees back in here. Got little trunks on them. Over here there's probably a lot of trees in there that I didn't paint in, but I'll just throw some of this dark purplish color I got with some red in it, make it more purple. Helps create more abstract shapes back here in the background. Could have done that before I threw those big tree trunks in there, but didn't think about it. So see if I can still get some of that in there. It'll work. I've used really no sap green, no phthalo blue, really no Prussian blue either. I think I put a little bit in one of those things over there, but I probably won't use those colors when we do this painting in class. I'll probably just let that go. Okay, so I've made that nice little sort of nondescript set of trees over there. I've got another tree here that sort of pops up out of the snow. You know what, I'm going to put that snow in before I put that tree in. I've got another set of trees and tree branches and things that all start coming out over this way. There's a tree that's sort of out of the view of the camera over here on the right, and it's sort of putting branches all over the place here. Cover this big tree back here, or these buildings. All right. Start looking at the snow here. I'm going to start working on it. Snow is not perfectly white, but it's got a lot of white in it. So I'm going to start putting it in, and then I'll come back and sort of tone it down a little bit. This is the edge of the bridge abutment here. Tone that down just a little. color. I think I'm having more fun with this wash brush than so we'll make some snow next to this tree. Down here we've got snow coming. It's a bank. It's got some snow that comes down to the water, and then there's a bank, and it's got some ice on the water. I'm just using titanium white with a little bit of midnight black in it, just a touch. Some places I put a little lavender in it, but horizontal strokes tell you this. Try to keep it clean. If you pick up that brown in your brush, clean the brush out, paper towel, go back and get some more fresh paint. Way too much black. This midnight black, when you put white with it, it starts turning a little bit, has a violet color, or a sort of a violet gray color, I guess. So we'll put this in. One more here. As it comes down to this bank, it starts getting some shadows in it. So I'm picking up a little lavender. And trying to round the bottom of this off if I can. There's even some stuff like this. Just take your brush and flick up some things like that. Okay, stop, step back. How's it looking? All right. Now this bridge, it's got a lot of colors in it, a lot of grays. Make sure that it stands out from the snow around it. And have some snow on top of it here too, so I'm just sort of painting in this grayish color. Top of this bridge, it's got browns and it's got all kinds of colors in it. Mix up some colors, throw some ochre in there. Come back and get some of the other browns. It's a stone bridge, so I want to make it look like there's some stones there. And it should be fairly dark because it's really out of the light. different colors, different abstract shapes. Get this over here a little bit grayer. Okay, that bridge is starting to come to life. We actually have a second post over here, sort of right in here. Something like that. We have some shadows that are being cast by this over the snow. These trees are casting some shadows. Helps let you know there's some things casting shadows there. All right, let's see if we can kind of, all right. This bridge here, work this out in darks. It's going to be dark here, but there are some colors, some reflections of color that are coming back. Maybe a little too bright there, but there. I want to put in some of these colors to get to lighten it up just a little bit, because there is some reflected light that's coming back on this bridge from where we are standing. May not look exactly that way in the photograph, but we're not trying to paint the photograph, we're trying to paint a bridge that looks real. And you got to take into account the light and the effects of light and where that reflectivity goes and where the shadows are and where the lights are. Put a little some reds in there, maybe put a few underneath this bridge. I'm going to have some nice reflections. This is all meets the snow over here. Okay, so we're getting some interesting abstract shapes here. Underneath this bridge, we're actually going to pull up this sort of almost the photograph doesn't really have this, but this is going to be a nice little highlight reflection in here. Starts there like that, and then just sort of fades to brown or black. Like this. This is really probably the darkest part of this painting in here. It comes down against the water. And then there's more snow and stuff over here. Underneath that bridge, clean my brush out because I want to get some clean yellow color. I want some of this color that's up above with these yellows in it. I want this to shine under here like this. Get some of that area back there in the back. Distance. Sort of making all of this. See if it looks like that's a light. Get back from that. Looks like I'm getting light underneath that bridge. Yeah. Step back there and take a look. Then underneath that we start showing the water again. So I'm going to come back to my purple, my color that's got this black, and right in here, we're going to change that back now. Sort of this, maybe put a little red in there. Yeah. Get this reflection. This is really now, this is water back in here. And we want this to reflect down. So let's put in some liquid white here to get ourselves some area to reflect the water in. Just a little liquid white, take that out. We want these colors to start reflecting down. So that yellow to reflect down. Something like that, maybe just a touch over here. So vertical brush strokes give you that look of reflected water, of reflections in water. This is snow, this is really darker over here. As we make this darker, there is some ice here. I don't know if I can make that look like ice or not in there. It has a little bit of reflectivity as well. Ooh, not too much there. Once you start messing with these reflections, you can really mess them up if you go over them too much. Just lose your whole thing. So run this together, soft edges. All right. I think I'm gonna not try to make a bunch of ice out of this over here. Let's see how it goes, see what it looks like here. That's too dark. Maybe I can make it look a little bit like ice. Probably standing right in front of the camera. These colors down here a little bit. This reddish color here and there. Okay, that's a nice little scene. I'm going to now go back and just put some of this snow on the right side. Over here. A lot of snow there. Probably needs to have a little bit of shadow in it. I don't have snow on top of my bridge yet. I still have blank canvas there. So let's fix that. I've been using this flat watercolor brush the whole time here. Most of the time, I should say. So I'm just putting titanium white on here with a little bit of a tone in it, not much. And just sort of letting the canvas pull off of the brush what it will as I run this thing across the top of this bridge. Don't want it to be a nice, perfect looking pile of snow. I want it to have some ups and downs in it. A little more snow in some places than others. Maybe a little bit more over here even. There's even a little snow, some spots in here. Sort of catching on parts of the bridge. Okay. There we go. The thing we haven't done is put in some lights in these buildings. Take some titanium white, some of this, a little bit of yellow, and let's just see if we can tap in some lights here in some of these buildings. Basically, might be a place where there's something like that. More yellow in there, maybe. I'm not trying to paint exactly what I see, I'm just sort of painting might be a sort of a restaurant or something on the top here that's got lights in it. Something like that. Down here there might be a few more. Lighten them up, they got to get lighter as they come down or you won't be able to see them. Over here there's probably some. Put some lights down here toward the bottom. There's maybe some shops or something down there that people are getting into. I don't know. Just really light stuff here, just hit and miss. We're not trying to hit you over the head with the fact that there's a bunch of lights back here, but you want it to give you the feeling of the buildings in the dark. It might just be a very subtle one here. Over here, these might even be brighter, and might more of them even. Building over here might have a few lights toward the top. Just random patterns, don't make them too specific. Pardon me for standing in front of the painting. Kind of get lost into this in a way that okay. Gonna finish this off here with some of these trees now, and we'll be done. Maybe just a little more of the snow here. Put some highlights on these trees, branches here. These will have, if there's any highlight, it's going to be on the left side of these tree branches, be on the right side of this tree. Let's see here if I can get some. Pick up some snow here and put on this tree. Okay. Let me see, I'm going to get my script liner out now and see if I can start putting in some fine branches and fill out these trees a little more. And there is another tree that I left out that goes right in here over this. Let's start putting in some of these things here. This may take a while. Get the thinner. I'm getting my script liner brush now and getting the paint very runny with some thinner, and I'll just start making keep it runny, the paint will go on top of what's there. If the paint doesn't come off, it means it's too dry. You have to add a little more thinner to thin the paint down, either thinner or some sort of a medium of some sort that will help that paint run. It has to be thinner than what's on the canvas or it won't come off. Try to think about the shapes that you're leaving between the branches if you can. Negative spaces. You want those to have an interesting shape as well. You don't want to just leave a bunch of triangles in here. So something like this. All right, let me see if I can use this brush. It's a lot of thinner. See if I can stick in this other tree. Black and my browns. The tree sort of goes like right in here. Like that. It actually goes a lot further up than that. So let's reload. Reload the brush. Trying to start where we left off and all the way up, all the way off the roof. So this takes a little bit of little courage to try to paint over your background here, but you have to eventually try to do that. So these they're all picking up some of the light, so they don't have to be completely dark. Step back here and see what it's looking like. Okay. That tree could be just a little wider at the base as I look at it from the camera view. I'm just going to fatten it up just a little here. That tree's going to hold up all that above it. It needs to be a little fatter. This tree is pretty well done. Let's see. Okay. Some more. Get some very thin branches out here at the top if we can. Okay, let's see now. We got another tree on the right side that needs some more work. So we're going to bring him out like this and sort of maybe put some more things on like that. Get him a good dark base here. So as I'm painting these, I'm sort of pushing to start with down, and then as I move up and I pull the brush back so that it makes that branch thinner as you get higher. So as you go up, you pull back. When you get up to the top, you sort of just let the tip of the brush paint whatever will come off. Okay, this is probably one of my longer paintings, but I think it's got a lot of... I'm going to get my fan brush and we're going to try to just put a few of the really light branches up here. I'm going to get this paint that's very thin that I've been using, and see if I can get it on the fan brush enough to just sort of flick on some nice, almost what you would call dry brush. I gotta get a little more on there than that. Sort of fills it out a little more, makes it just a little more believable, I guess. Pick up some of these. Over here on the right side, we'll do a few of these over here. Sort of gives it that wispy look, trees that have lost their leaves. If I go over it too many times, I'll destroy my building back there, or I'll blend the branches into the building, which I don't want to do. Okay, how about a couple of little trees or something down here, maybe in the distance. I had trees on the other side that were picking up light. Over here, this fan brush is great for doing these kind of little things. Okay. Oh, maybe there's a little bit of bushes and scrub brush stuff in here like this. Keep the eye on the painting. Over here, I'm going to put a little bit around the bottom of these, like that. Oh, let's see. Okay. Have to know when to stop. It's always hard to know when to stop. Something about like that is all I'm going to do. Okay, let's see here. At the wrong angle to me. And I'm going to see if I can fix a little bit of this bottom of it to make it a little more vertical. It looks like it's, somehow it's, I think this horizontal is wrong here. I want to get this more accurate if I can. If I go up here like this, we'll make that look like it's more horizontal. Get some darks in there. I gotta something like that. Maybe helps make that a little straighter. This looks like it's about the same angle as that. But that's okay. Back here, I want this to be dark. Down here, I've already pulled this out a little bit. I pulled out a little of the bottom of this building out here to make it look just a little bit less angular. It was, looks like it was leaning to me. So I'm going to put this And again here like this. Whole problem is trying to get this to look so that it's not the wrong angle. Orange in there, ochre maybe. See if this is going to make it look a little better. I have to almost get in front of the camera to really see if I'm fixing it. I think that's a bit better. So taking this top in a little bit here, trying to level this out so it's more horizontal and not as angular. It was going the wrong angle actually. See if this side back here can be darkened just a little more. A bit too dark maybe. Okay. Now, okay, the only other thing, I think I'm going to try to put this eave, make it a little more distinct here. Come down just a little. Trying to get the angles and the perspective right on buildings does take a little bit of work sometimes. And you have to go over it once or twice maybe. Because I stand to the side, I think I've said this before, I sort of get the angles are hard for me to see sometimes because I'm looking at it at an oblique angle. Okay. That building behind, the one that's in the shadow here, looks like it's tipping a little bit this way to the left. I don't know if I'm going to be able to fix that or not. I'll see if I can pick up some of this light lavender here and maybe just touch in a few things here to straighten it out so it's not quite as angular, or not, doesn't have quite the same angle to it appearance. I want it to be light. It's really fading into the background back there. It's sort of the fogginess that you see in some of these urban scenes. All right, let me see if those look better to me on the camera. Yeah, it still looks a little bit tipped at the top there, but let me see if I can put just a little bit right in here. Give you the idea. Okay. Looks a little better, I think. This one building still looks like it's have this square face that's not quite square. I'm going to see if I can pull down into the snow just a little bit here, this part right here. Oh, I got to get my brush with enough paint in it that the bristles hold together so they don't splay out. I don't like that color, too dark. There we go, getting closer. There, it makes this bottom look now more horizontal. Looked like it was tipping before. Some of that could be because of the snow on this bridge is hiding it, but it also can be the wrong angle. So let me see if I can fix that. Put a few more. There actually is a little section of this building that juts out. Okay, one more look. All right, I think that's a little better. I hope that looks better to you. So once again, I'll say, I think I'm going to stop here. I think I'm going to stop, but then I find something else to do. All right, I think that's about all I can do. I did find one other area I need to have a little dark, like right in here, right under this bridge, to help distinguish it from the background, so that it sort of blends in here like this. That helps tell you that is the underside of the bridge and not the reflections that are back in the distance from it. It's a subtle thing, but the more I looked at this, the more I thought it was a little bit out of alignment and may still be slightly off, but I'm going to leave it at that and say thank you for watching, and hope you give this painting a try, and let me know how you do. Send me some comments, ask me some questions. I'll see if I can answer them. And until I see you again, this is Larry Hamilton saying so long for now. Goodbye.